caught up thinking about winning or losing this game. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
This is the New Hampshire High School Basketball Show.
This is a second coming. This is a call to arms. Your finest hour won't be wasted.
The New Hampshire High School Basketball Show is brought to you by the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission's Division of Enforcement.
Right now, it's not about talent, it's about heart. It's about who can go out there and play the hardest, who can go out there and play the smartest. Now, they've been here before, so they're not going to give it to us. We got to go out there and we got to take it.
And now your hosts, Pete Terrier.
But I have a question, though. Those two foul shots at the end of the game, did you miss them? Or did you miss them?
Not exactly a soup question, is it?
And Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com.
All season long, we played our game. Right now, you're playing theirs. When we step on the floor, every second that clock is ticking, we are pedal to the metal. We run the ball. We pressure the ball. And most importantly, we control the tempo of the game.
This is gonna hurt.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. We do it for you on the radio. Two fine stations here in New Hampshire. News Radio 610 and 96.7. My name is Pete Terrier, along with Dave Haley, NHSportsPage.com. David, good morning. Happy almost Christmas to you.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, yeah.
And by the way,
sorry, I'm reading scores.
Happy birthday, David. Your young daughter, Allison, in studio with us, and she tells us it is David's birthday. It's Daddy's birthday today, so maybe we'll let her come on a little bit later on.
No, we're
and
good.
Give you a special birthday hello. Well, didn't we play the happy birthday song for her a few months ago?
Exactly.
She's
She's 8 years old, and that was appropriate.
And you're finally 21, as I said earlier.
Yeah, it's nice to be 30 again.
With an 8-year-old daughter. So last night, really the tip-off of the entire hoop season, because you got Division I and Division II in the action. A week ago, it was Division III and Division IV tipping off, so they've got some games under their belt. I was at a game in Londonderry last night, diverted from a D4 game. We were going to be in Wilton last night, and
disaster averted.
It turned out that we made the right call by not going to Wilton, Lyndeborough, to see Epping destroy Wilton without your preseason player of the year in D4, Jordan Litz.
Who apparently is just as valuable as we thought, maybe more so.
Well, I want to thank Bryce Miller, the AD out at Wilton Lyndeborough, for giving us the heads up yesterday afternoon. And I felt real bad. He's like, hey, I just want to let you know that Jordan hurt his hands the other night in the game against Derryfield when Wilton Lyndeborough beat Derryfield in Wilton, I think it was, on Wednesday night. And he was unable to play last night. And the AD, as I said, Bryce Miller, was kind enough to say, hey, we know you're out here to come see Jordan and us, but primarily because Jordan's your player of the year in D4 preseason. But we want to let you know he's not going to play tonight. We understand if you're not going to come now. I felt really bad saying, you've been bumped. But we'll go see them again later this year.
Oh, yeah.
And originally, when we first started looking at the schedule, we said, hey, that Londonderry-Bedford game looks interesting. So we ended up going to that game instead. We'll get you the score of that one and all the scores from all around the state of New Hampshire as Dave Haley brings us the scoreboard right now, brought to you by our friends at the New Hampshire State Liquor Commission, their Division of Enforcement, and the Buyers Beware campaign, reminding all adults it's against the law to provide alcohol to minors, even if your star player can't go and end up getting destroyed without him in the lineup for you. Don't go out and try and solve the ills, fix the problems by passing around a bottle. It's against the law. You just can't do it.
Londonderry with a 75-49 win over Bedford. Cody Ball with a huge game. What, he had 30 points?
Yeah.
30 points. We've got the highlights up on NHSportsPage.com. I watched a little bit of those. I got up this morning to do stats. Elliot Bless and I are at war with Goal Line, the company that we pay to do our website, and they're just killing me. That's why I'm in a bad mood this morning. Anyway, so we'll move along. So Londonderry with a big win. That game was close early, and then Londonderry blew them out late. We'll talk about it. I'm just going to bounce around because it's the way the scoreboard comes up. Mascoma with a 44-36 win over Belmont. Bishop Girton with a 47-40 win over Concord. Concord hung in there tough all night long. BG gets the win on opening night. Campbell with a 71-40 win over Farmington. Campbell lost to Pelham on Tuesday night in a pretty good game over there. I want to talk about that one as well. Kane in Pittsburgh, 75-57 over Linwood. This one surprised me. Berlin, 57-51 at home over Franklin. Franklin hung with them. Sometimes these scores can be funny, though. It's a 6-point game, and maybe it was a 20-point game. They scored late, but Rich Otis's team battled up in Berlin, 57-51, so good job there. Bishop Brady, hoy vey, 87-43 over John Stark. Brady had 61 points at halftime, and we're going to have their head coach, Cole Etten, 24-year-old Cole Etten. I think like his official name now is 24-year-old Cole Etten. Poor guy. But he's coming on the show, and I was, take a break for 1 second here. I was having trouble coming up with who to have on the show because we have so many coaches that we know we're going to have, but like, for example, like Matt Regan from Pelham, I want to have him on later in the season when he's gone through D3. I want to have Eric Saucier on later in the year. I want to have, Trevor Howard later in the year, so forth. The Cole Etten was the guy I want to have on because he just had his first varsity game last night. But it's hard to decide, Pete, to kind of figure out when these guys are going to come.
I think you made a good get by getting him. So
the only coach out there that has like carte blanche, like if he wants to come on any show, he can. He knows this. I've told him this is Mark Collins from Groveton, but he's never coming on the show ever. But it's sort of like in Talladega Nights where he keeps leaving tickets for his dad, and he knows his dad's never going to show up to his races.
Why would he never come on the show?
Mark Collins will never do the show. He has no interest in doing radio. Never.
So, like, he's in the Mike Fitzpatrick school of interviews.
He may be listening, but
very cordial.
He hasn't,
but just doesn't want to do it.
If Matt Regan is on this show, or Nate Stanton, or whomever, and then Mark Collins says, "I want to come on Saturday," I'm bumping those guys. That's the rule. I'm just throwing it out there to Mark Collins from Groveton. Guys won 6 championships. I can't get him on. Cole Brown comes from behind Timberlane. Almost went 1-0. Pete Terrier. They were leading most of this game at home. Timberlane in their first Division II game. Cole Brown comes back and wins 49-46. Buddy Trask finally decided to start his season, and he beats Profile. They got a big in this one. I think it was 21-8 early on Paul Greenlaw's Profile team. Colebrook wins 47-33 opening night. Pelham beats Conant in a game we thought we might be at 62-45. This game was 11-10 after the first quarter, and then Pelham just rode away from them. I have bad news for everyone out there from Pelham listening. It's going to get a lot boring the next month or so.
A lot more boring?
Yeah, if you think they're all like Conant and Campbell in Division III, it's going to be a... If your son is the 10th, 11th, or 12th man on the Pelham basketball team, you should be very excited. He's going to get a lot of playing time.
I was messaging on Twitter with Keith Brown the other day, and he was asking if I was coming out to the game last night, and I had said, nah, we're not going to do that one. I figured that Pelham would handle them relatively easily last night. I said I think we'll do the game at Conant because to me that's a more interesting game.
You love it because they love you. They adore you in Conant.
No, they love their basketball in Conant, and they do in Pelham as well.
Yeah,
but I think that game would be much better. That home court advantage at the Pratt. That gives them something, and I think that could be a game.
And they're going to just get
better.
They'll
be better by then. Coach Saucier is a great coach, and he's going to need a little time to get those guys to play together, get some confidence by beating up on some of these other D3 teams, and then let's see what kind of shot they can give Pelham later on down the road. I think it's the 20th of January, so it's not that far away.
Jim Mulvey said to me the other night, we were doing a fundraiser with those guys, and he said, do you think Conant can compete with Pelham by the end of the year? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I do. And, you saw them against Pembroke. They'll compete with Pelham by the end of the year. Early on, they're still kind of building towards it. Newmarket, second win of the year. They're 2-1. Jamie Hayes' team, 56-35 win over Concord Christian. That game was played at NHTI. They had a doubleheader over there last night. Epping all over Wilton. This game was, I don't even remember the halftime score. I think it was 41-10 at halftime. But Epping, 62-45 win over Wilton. They called off the Dogs. I'm just going to assume my man Colby Wilson had a big night. I'm just going to assume it. Trinity, Matt Lemieux is 1-0, undefeated. Doesn't know how to lose a varsity game as coach. Trinity with a 68-56 win over Exeter. It was a balanced attack for Trinity. Good W there for Matty. The Guilford Golden Eagles, 13 points for Caleb Orden and 18 rebounds. 58-49 on the road over Kearsarge. Wyndham, 63-51 over Goffstown. That's a really good win for Todd Stefanidis' teams. I think they could be a lot better than people think. They had a lot of football players on that team. Joey Frey, Kurz, Joe Clear, all those guys. Jolliker, excuse me. Conval, 64-57 over Sauhegan. Nice win for Conval. Derryfield, all over Moultonborough. This kind of surprised me. 52-28 Pat McGinley's playing very, very well for Derryfield, shooting guard for them. He's averaging about 20 points a game. Raymond 64-50. They bounce back and they beat Fall Mountain. Ryan Murdoch had 24 points for Fall Mountain, but Raymond wins at 64-50. The Big Smooth, Lewis Atkins, and Portsmouth Christian roll. They're 3-0, 47-39 over Gorham. Keith Maddie's team gets a rivalry win, as Pete Terrier would say it, 66-40. Was that? It was pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Say rivalry.
Rivalry.
There you
win.
go. 66-45 over Hanover. We like that Lebanon team a lot, don't we? I
Yes.
like KJ Maddie a lot. The kid is he's just good. Hinsdale 50-43 over Pittsfield. Cam Dara, freshman point guard for Pittsfield, and of course his father Jay is a friend of ours and their head coach. He broke his wrist on Tuesday against Derryfield, and he's most likely out for the season. So they had two kids, Zenthia Sear and Cam Dara, who could really score. Now they have one kid who can really score. So real bad news. We hate it when kids get hurt like that. You know, he's worked so hard for this. So he was in the hospital. I talked to Jay on Wednesday. He was having surgery, so terrible for Cam. Hopefully he can come back by the end of the year. Milford 59. My dad's calling me right now. That tells you like how much my dad pays attention to what I do. My father's calling me. Hey, Dad, I'm on the radio.
Happy
I have
birthday,
a show.
son.
People listening and everything. Milford 59-49 over Hollis Brookline. Kennett was destroying Kingswood, and they end up winning 67-48. I'm very high on Kennett this year. Kabongo played last night. He had, 24 points from Memorial? 60-47 over Winnacunnet. Jay McKenna asked me on Wednesday, he's like, is Kabongo going to play? I can't answer that. We can talk about my previews. It took Jack Quirk and I 10 minutes to go over that section of my preview. I'll just tell you that. Salem 67-59 over National North. I like this Salem team. Jared Gott, 27 points. I like this Salem team. I think that could be pretty good. Dave Chase's Hopkinton team is sort of coming around a little earlier than expected. 60-41 over Stevens. Winnisquam behind Kristen Serrano and Tori Martinez with a 79-60 win over Interlakes. Laconia sneaks by Newfound 61-57. I'm a little concerned about that score. Portsmouth, it was in a good one with Manchester West. This was good for a ways, but Charlie Hugh and the Clippers kind of pull away late. 54-38 over Manchester West, Danny Bryson's team's first game in Division II. Newport, this was nip and tuck the whole way. Messinic actually had the ball down 3 with 4 seconds left to try to tie it. Probably got to Jared Stoffenecker, probably had 4 guys on him. Newport with a 46-43 win over Messinic, and what I was told was a very physical basketball game. Merrimack Valley, 46-38 over Plymouth. They're 1-0. Darien Berry and Spalding, the Fighting McIsaacs, are 1-0. They beat Merrimack 51-39. That's a nice win on the road. Pinkerton, my preseason number 1. And apparently, according to Pete at Londonderry, very controversial.
Ruffled some feathers at Londonderry last night.
They're always got ruffled feathers about something at Londonderry. 69-60 over Nashua South. We'll talk about it. I'm prepared to defend myself. Pinkerton with a 69-60 win over Nashua South. Newt, 78-45. Newt scored 78 points.
2 weeks in a row. They had 78 last week, too.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I do not have a final score in the NHIAA. No, this is a bummer. For the Pembroke-Keene game, I don't know. I think it was Pembroke won by 3 points last night.
I thought it was 49-46.
Okay.
That's what my memory is.
I don't have it.
I can scroll through my Twitter feed and see what it is.
Yeah, the computer's playing games on me here. I'm going to need you to help me with the last 2 scores. But Keene was leading the entire game over Pembroke. Pembroke took their first lead with 3 minutes left. Now, remember, Matalosa was not coaching last night. 1 point game late. Mason Blanchard had a turnover. Dominic Timbus turned it around, transition basket, got him up by 3. But Keene more than hung with Pembroke. They were leading this entire game. Would have been the shock of opening night, probably the shock of the month.
Oh, yeah.
They went 0-18 last year. So great job by Dave Sontag. I was texting with him a little bit last night, so we'll talk about that one. Lauren Lucas and Oyster River, I don't have the final score because the computer's getting all weird on me, but Oyster River beat St. Thomas by 5, so Lauren Lucas' era has begun at Oyster River. They're 1-0. And Alvern, Brian Lynch, another first-year head coach who gets a W in his first game. Alvern beats Dover. I think you have some Sam Bonnie Lyles, the Twitter assassin, with 17 points for Alvern. I think Kareem Wynn had 12. I just don't have the final score in front of me, but I apologize.
Well, and this other one that did not go final last night, a game that was suspended in Somersworth, and for medical reasons. I was reading the Foster's Twitter feed, and they had a story that mentioned it was in the high school roundup section that the Somersworth Hillsborough Deering game was suspended last night With 1:25 left to go in the third quarter, Somersworth up 52-19. They're going to resume the game at some point, but they had to suspend it because there was a medical emergency involving the Hillsborough Deering head coach. I just went on the Hillsborough Deering website, and we didn't know, neither one of us knew who the Hillsborough Deering head basketball coach was. And according to the website, Kevin Fowler is the name of the varsity basketball coach at Hillsborough Deering. So apparently it's Kevin Fowler, I guess. I don't know. I'm just reading from the Twitter feed of Foster's. And he had a medical emergency. They stopped the game, and it's been suspended. 52-19, Somersworth on top of Hillsborough Deering. And we hope that everything's okay.
We hope he's all right
with the coach. I hope, that I'm giving you correct information, but I'm speculating here. But I'm taking this right out of the Fosters.com story in the roundup section. So let's hope everything is okay with that. All right, we got to get to a break. We'll come back. We'll pick out each a game that kind of raised an eyebrow for each of us, and we'll talk about that. We got Cole Etten, the new coach at Bishop Brady. I forgot his proper name. 24-year-old Cole Etten.
24-year-old Cole Etten.
The coach at Bishop Brady, who got himself a nice little preseason gift, you could say, when the Bell brothers decided to leave prep school and come back to Brady for their senior and junior years, respectively, for Jordan and Joe Bell. We'll talk to 24-year-old Cole Etten in about 10-15 minutes from now as the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show continues. News Radio 610 and 96.7.
From Manchester West to Winnicott, Central to Somersworth, and Portsmouth to Plymouth, this is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show on News Radio 610 and 96.7.
We do it for you each and every Saturday morning during the New Hampshire high school basketball season from 8 to 9, live on the radio. 2 stations, one in and around Manchester. That's News Radio 610. Also got a Seacoast signal for you, 96.7 FM. And, of course, we always film the show. John Kesty, our videographer from nhsportspage.com, gets up bright and early on a Saturday morning, comes in here, films us 2 guys talking on the radio. You can watch it on demand on your schedule on nhsportspage.com. Right now we want to talk about a couple of games and kind of focus on them in particular, stuff that we weren't at the game last night, but we're seeing the scores, we're reading the stories in the newspapers and online, getting the reports from the people that we know that were at those games and talking about them in a little bit more detail. And I want to start, Dave, with Manchester Memorial. The enigmatic Crusaders go out on the road to the Seacoast, and they beat Winnicott last night 60-47 to open up with a victory in Division I. Now, this is a team that, after last season when the Crusaders almost knocked off Central and ruined their unbeaten season in the semis at UNH in a game for the ages. That game was awesome, 99-91 and 2 overtimes. Trayvon Mon, Kabongo Nalakalandi, both of them coming back for their senior years, or would they? And then last week at the Jamboree, we had Memorial taking on Lebanon, and one of the things that we noticed, no Kabongo Nalakalandi on the roster for Memorial. Trayvon Mon was on the roster. No Wade Gopp on the roster. Malo Rumraj was on the roster. But no, none of those 4 guys played. They weren't, they were in the gym. Mon was in the gym watching some of the other games, but he wasn't suited up for Memorial. You had a long conversation with Coach Jack Quirk doing your preview story on nhsportspage.com. And then I look in the box score this morning, Kabongo Nalakalandi, game high 24 points as Memorial beats Winnicott on the road. What's the story there?
With Kabongo, it's well, I have to be careful because there's, it's eligibility. You know what I mean? It has to do with, he has to be eligible by school standards. Kids have to.
He got eligible in the span of a day or two?
He has to get checked on weekly at this point to see how his progress is. So that's what's going on with Kabongo. He got checked on Wednesday to see how he was doing, academically.
So it can't be easy for Coach Quirk to coach his team under those circumstances.
Wade Gopp's not coming, and then
he's not walking through that door.
No, and I think Trayvon is probably got some problems, so I don't think he's going to be eligible either.
So does this mean Kabonga, if they have a game on, I think the D1 games are on Monday night because of the holiday next week, and then you got the holiday tournament. I mean, is this like, so, okay, he was good last night, and he's good for the next game, but then next Wednesday, I mean, it's Christmas Eve, so will this count for 2 weeks? Does he have a stay of it? I mean, it's just a crazy situation.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, and I feel bad for Coach Quirk.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation. But, I mean, listen, every person out there who played high school sports has to be eligible with a bunch of different things. You can't get in trouble. Yeah, I'm just speaking generally here. You can't get in trouble. You have to have certain grades to be able to play. You have to go to school. That's kind of important. And that's what's going on. I can't really get specific into everything, but I think people can kind of sense what's going on there. Wade Gobb is not eligible academically, so he's not playing. And then what happened with Malo is he was suspended because he didn't show. He basically was late. Wasn't going to show up to the bus to Londonderry for the Jamboree, even though the coaches had said, "Hey, just call us and we'll give you a ride." So, it's just sort of one thing after another. It's just basic stuff. You have to be a responsible kid. You know what I mean? It's so I don't. You know what I mean?
And it's unfortunate, and I can tell you're uncomfortable
they're
talking
the most,
about it.
Well, there's just certain things you're not supposed to say. I don't want to get Jack in trouble, certainly, and I didn't. I that's why everything was pretty vague in my preview. But, you have to take responsibility. You know what I mean? Like at an early, at 14, 15, I mean, it's time to start being responsible. So you got to go to school. You have to do things. So, it's a crazy situation over there because we, just as fans of basketball, want to see those guys play. Trayvon Mon, who's a very nice kid, he's a heck of a player. He's so fun to watch. Kabongo is so good. You want to see those guys play. They gotta get, gotta take care of it.
And Jack Quirk's got to be like, I'm getting too old for this kind
I
of crap.
think that he's just happy with the guys he has, and he's just like, you know what, either play or don't play, but let's just get this over with. I think it's the week to week that drives you nuts. So. Unfortunate because they are the most talented team in the state, no question.
And they do have some other guys. And last night, Nick Philibert, 16 points for them. Craig Preston, the now sophomore point guard.
Yeah, he's good.
He had 10 points in the game. So Memorial victorious. All right, let's go from the east end of Route 101 all the way to the western end of 101, and I'm talking about Keene and Pinkerton. No Matalosa.
Pembroke, Keene and Pembroke.
Sorry, I said Pinkerton. Sorry. Keene and Pembroke. No Matalosa, which I'm sure he's not too upset that he missed that road trip to Keene. But Dave Siegel making his coaching debut, he picks up the win, although it was a squeaker.
Oh, man.
What, 40? What'd you say, John? 45-42 was the final, and a low-scoring affair, too.
So I was on Twitter last night. So I had my daughter, took her to the movie. So I couldn't go to a game.
Where'd you go see? The Penguins?
The night at the museum. The third
great
one.
movie,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So I'm on daddy duty, so I'm monitoring. I know you and John are out at the game. The first update I saw saying Keene was beating Pembroke, I looked at it and I go, that must be the girls' game. So I just ignored it. I swear to God, I just said that's going to be the girls' game. So I just ignored it, and then I saw somebody say boys. It was a girl, Michelle. Can't remember her last name.
Yeah,
it was.
I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
She was a star last night. One of my friends was like, yeah, I followed her. She deserves it. So she was updating. Basically, Keene, played man-to-man. He kind of switched on screens. And, I thought Eric Saucier really kind of showed you the book on Pembroke. Because when you hear that Pembroke has Dominic Timbus at 6'6" playing point guard and Max Curran at 6'7" playing small forward, your brain says, well, press them. You got to press these guys, I don't know if that works. They're pretty smart. They're going to throw over you. And Matalosa even said, he's like, we'll just throw over you. I mean, they'll have Max Curran flash middle, and they'll throw it to him. Who's going to catch that ball except for him? He could throw it 7 feet high. He's going to go get it. So I don't think that's the way to go. What did Conant do? They let him bring the ball up. But then once they got into the half court, 3-point line extended, they just dogged them with man-to-man defense and don't let them put the ball on the floor. So I think that's what a lot of teams are going to do. They don't have a point guard, a natural point guard. Dominic Timbus is not a natural point guard. Obviously, he's a very good player, first team preseason, but he's not a point guard. So I think that's the book on these guys. And here's the thing with Pembroke. It sounds funny. I don't even know how to say this, but if you could make trades like they should make a trade. They have too many of the same guys. They have too many 6'6", 6'7" guys who shoot jumpers. Like they need a point guard. They need a shooting guard. They need a couple of smaller guys. I mean, they got Rob Wilson, Dominic Timmons, Cam Taylor, Max Curran. They're all 6'6", 6'8".
Justin off the bench, 6'4".
Yeah, I don't know how much he's even going to play, but Connor Boucher is a real good guard for them, but he's their only real natural guard, and they do have a lot of guys that do very similar things, and this isn't Pembroke. This is today's basketball. I can't figure out. I joke about it in columns all the time. Dirk Nowitzki has ruined the game. All these guys want to do is shoot jumpers. Nobody. Remember Kevin Sheverfils from Memorial?
Yeah, back to the basket.
How much do I miss him? If I see that guy at a
low.
Christmas time, I'm going to hug him because he had a back to the basket. He scored 25 a game. He went to Colby Sawyer. He was a machine. Nobody plays back to the basket basketball. All these guys want to do is shoot jumpers.
What about Connor Walsh at Trinity, who's undersized? I think he's 6'2" or whatever.
Yeah.
He has the ability.
He's got a nice back to the basket game.
On the block, but he could also step out and hit a face-up jumper, hit a three-pointer as well. He's a guy, Keith Brown from Pelham.
Keith Brown can do it, but he's playing point guard.
I know.
And, he goes very rarely. But what happened in that game is Trinity wasn't switching. Trinity wasn't helping down low in the jamboree. So once Matt Regan saw it was all one-on-one, he said at the end of the third quarter to Keith Brown, he's like, go take him down low. And he scored 14 points in the fourth quarter. So, yeah. But that's we've already had an interest.